Hi, everybody. Welcome back to class. It's Mark, and today is Friday, September the 30th, almost October. Fall's my favorite time of year. It's cool and crisp outside, and that's just the way I like it. Today, we're going to work in class session 7. We are wrapping up writing project 2 that is due this week, and we're also looking ahead to the next writing project 3. Here's session 7. And as it says, this is the analysis final draft. By now, everyone should have received feedback in the discussion forum, and you've also received feedback from me. A couple things I'll mention about the drafts. Number one, make sure that everyone is using the F7 key if you're using a PC, or whatever spell check that you have, because there continue to be problems with typos. I know you know how to spell, but sometimes our fingers get a little clumsy and we don't see our own mistakes when we read back over a draft. So let your PC, let Microsoft Word do some of that work for you and run spell check before you turn it into me. As I've mentioned before, it's the first thing I do, so you might as well do it as the last step before you turn it in. The second thing I'll point out is that we continue to have some problems with the works cited page. Make sure that the words works cited are used, not references or list of works, but rather just those words works cited on their own page and centered at the top of the page. And if you got some feedback from me saying your citations are not correct, you have great resources out there that will help you with this. There's Purdue OWL, of course. There's citationmachine.net, a bunch of other websites that will help you figure these out. And once you get that citation in the correct format, the author, the source, when it was published, etc., make sure that you indent the second line. And there's more than one person who's been doing this, that they're indenting the first line and not the second. I'm not sure why, but that's just not how it's done. Indent the second line. And the other thing I'll bring up is that when you are including a quote from someone and you need to list the source, the punctuation always goes last. So it would never be, they said that the car was red, end quotation mark, then a period, and then the parentheses showing the source of whoever made that statement. But the end of the quotation mark, the parentheses, and then the period. Punctuation always goes last. So just a few nitpicky things. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but more than one student has had a little difficulty in that area. So let's try and get this right moving forward. Now, into today's session. Writing Project 2, analysis, as I mentioned. You're turning in your final draft. So read the feedback that you received in the forum, read the feedback that you received from me. Make sure you're using spell and grammar check. Make sure your citations are listed correctly, and you're going to turn it in this time. As it says down here, it's due at the end of this week for 120 points. And you'll notice that these point values continue to go up as the as the semester progresses. And when we get to the last writing project, it's worth a whole lot of points. We are also finishing up, we are starting, 2 students have already started this, session 7 and session 8 discussion, every source tells a story. You're only doing your original post in this, but this is designed to get you thinking about the next writing project. We'll go into the learning activities. I don't think there's much that I need to cover here. There's the writing project itself. I don't think I need to open that. Here's the discussion board. Everyone's been very active in that. I don't think I need to open that either. And we also have 2 supplemental sources, library tutorial on selecting a topic and on AMLA citations. I'm not going to open those, and as I always mention, those are supplemental. You don't have to do them if you don't want to. But what I do want to open is the Writing Project 3 description, because I want you to start thinking about how you're going to address this. There it goes. Maybe. All right. you're going to write for a specific audience about a problem or issue that you care about and that you think your audience needs to know about but may not, or may be ill-informed, or may be less informed than they need to be. But this essay is also different in that the purpose is to convey information. The words I think, I believe should never appear in this essay because you're simply laying out the facts. As it mentions here, you will not weigh in with your own views or opinions. That's something that not everyone is accustomed to doing. We take for granted that we may lay out the facts from this source, this expert, but then we also say, I have concluded based on these sources that the following is true. In this, you're not going to say that. You're simply going to refer to what these experts or sources are saying about this issue for the audience you have in mind. And as it states further down here, this time the audience is not just me or not the other members of the class. The audience is designed to be addressed by the people who have a stake in your issue, whatever that issue may be. And this is what the discussion board will get you thinking about. So print this out. It's pretty good. Notice that the draft is going to be 1,000 words, 1,250 for the final. We are only writing an MLA. And you're only following steps 1 through 6. When you get to step 6, you stop. But I don't want to look too far ahead. What I do want you to do and encourage you to do is print this out and read through the entire thing. I don't want to go through the entire 6 steps in this video because, as I frequently say, I'm trying to keep these as brief and as direct as possible. You're not writing your draft yet. That will start next week, but I do want you to start thinking about this as you're polishing and refining the final draft of Writing Project 2. All right, let's go back to the class. I think we've covered all of that. We have. Let's go to assignments and assessments. And I don't believe there were any quizzes over any subject in this session. And it looks like there aren't. All right, so for the assignments and assessments, there are only 2. Number 1, turning in the draft of Writing Project 2, and make sure you turn it into both places, here and here. But also go to the discussion board. And we're not going to finish this discussion board this week, obviously. We're only beginning it and writing your initial post. You will do your replies the following week. In the instructions, in 2 to 3 sentences, you could use a little more if you need to. Describe your problem, the issue. What are you going to write about for Writing Project 3? And it should be based in some way to the themes in one of the core readings. Can you use a core reading as a source? Absolutely. Do you have to address exactly the same issue that the core reading does that you've been focusing on? Not necessarily, but there needs to be some sort of tie-in. Next, find 3 or more, 3 sources that take a perspective, an aspect, or address this same issue to some degree. You can find them in the virtual library. It may be a book that you own. It may be an outside source. I would prefer they come from the virtual library, but they don't actually all have to come from. It says in here they need to come from the virtual library. I would prefer that they do. If you find a source that you think is relevant and spot on with your issue, can you use it? Well, of course. I don't want to see you find 3 sources that are in no way connected to the Ivy Tech Virtual Library. The Ivy Tech Virtual Library is huge. There's millions of volumes out there of periodicals, journals, online articles, etc. So try to find most of them from there. Again, it's only 3. Once you find those 3 sources, summarize, explain why you found it interesting and on point with your topic, describe the fascinating ideas about the problem or controversy, and then discuss this source. So pretty simple. Tell me what you're going to write about. How does it tie into the core readings. It doesn't have to be an exact match. And then tell me about your sources. In fact, let's just go ahead and take a peek in there. As I mentioned, there's 2 students that have already done this. I will tell you, I haven't read these yet, so I'm going to kind of just take a leap of faith. Let's take a look at Ashley's. Ashley's writing about AIDS. Okay. And Ashley correctly addresses in 2 to 3 sentences what her topic is going to be. As she states, how to eliminate the problem. She finds it interesting and wants to find out all the statistics surrounding this virus. Good start so far. And then she lists her first source, CQ Researcher. I'm not familiar with that volume, but it looks okay. Notice she lists her second source. And she's got 403 words. Okay, not a bad start. Good job, Ashley. I think there's one other in here. I won't jump into both of them because, as I mentioned, I haven't read it yet, and I was just speed reading it there a second ago as we were headed on the screen. And I think that should wrap it up. Let's go back to the class session and check around one more time. You're turning in your final draft of the analysis. We're thinking about writing Project 3. Make sure you print out the instructions, and there's a discussion board designed to get you to begin looking at sources and what those sources are going to tell you. And I'll say this again, and I'll probably repeat it the next time out, but I think it's important. Remember, in writing Project 3, although you should be finishing writing Project 2 for this week, no personal opinion. It's simply the facts. What do the sources tell us? I'll probably repeat that more than once in the future, but I'm trying to keep everybody on track. And that appears to be it for this week. Of course, if you want to stay in touch with me, the best way is to send me a text, 812-498-4200. My email address is mstenger and the number 1 at ivytech.edu. That's it. Get out there and enjoy the fall weather, and have a great week, everybody. I'll see you around.